Okay.
That a good crowd. Like people are like piling in. Yeah.
Sorry, I can't remember if I told you already, but at 10 to 6 I will come telling you that you have 10 minutes left, then 5, and then you have to close, please.
Okay.
All right?
I think we'll be okay. I'm gonna keep an eye on the time too.
Yeah, and I'm sitting right next to Lenny, so I can fly. They'll be great.
Okay, I think most people have seats, so we're going to get started. Okay, so welcome. Today we're going to be talking about engagement strategies on Facebook. So how to grow your audience, how to look at new formats that might be better for engaging your audience, and then some tips and tricks. So to introduce myself, my name is Francesca Sacasa. I have an Italian name, but I'm not Italian. So English, please. But I'm really excited to be here. I'm on the media partnerships team based in London, and we work with journalists and news publishers to help them use Facebook better. And any questions you have, you can always come and ask me and my team, and we have help desks afterwards, so I'll tell you more about those as well. So we have a lot to cover today. I'm going to go through a lot of different things, and these are the tools and in the weeds things you need to know if you're managing a page on Facebook. So this is our agenda, and I'll do my best to get through everything and leave plenty of time for questions. So, starting off with instant articles, and I'm going to start off with this because it's a really exciting product, and we have some cool announcements around instant articles, but also because it ties into the general theme of engagement, because we found that instant articles are a really engaging type of content. So why did we build instant articles to begin with? We were seeing that on average, web articles were taking 8 seconds to load. And that might not sound like a very long time, but it can be a forever, eternity, when you're waiting for an article to load and nothing is happening. And this was not a great user experience. People were getting frustrated and they were bouncing back. They didn't want to wait. It wasn't a great experience. And we thought that we could figure out a solution to fix it. So we came up with instant articles. The first reason is to tackle that problem of things taking so long to load. But the second reason was because we wanted to offer a more immersive and native experience. So we launched Instant Articles almost 2 years ago. And in that time, we've seen pretty compelling data that shows it really is a more immersive experience and that the engagement is higher. So here are some of the numbers that we've seen. On average, Instant Articles are getting 30% more clicks. People are 70% less likely to abandon the article. And they're getting 30% more shares compared to link shares. We've also seen that they load a lot faster. So this is my favorite slide. But we did a speed test where we tested Instant Articles on a 2G network on a 6-year-old Android phone in India, compared to the mobile web on a brand new, at the time, 6S iPhone on a 3G network in the USA. And so with the Instant Articles, we see takes a little over half a second to load, which is pretty cool. And then you can scroll, it's very immersive, you can look around in the photos, it's a really nice experience. So now we go to the mobile web, brand new phone, best network. And that's not even 8 seconds. That was barely 5, but it felt like a really long time, no? So in general, you see that this is not quite, it doesn't load as fast, but it's also not as native an experience, right? The links don't look as good. The images aren't full bleed. You can't lose yourself in an article in the same way that you can with an instant article. So if those of you who are not yet on Instant Articles want to learn more, I encourage you to come and visit our help desks. We have a lot of different options on how to integrate them. If you use WordPress or Drupal, it's really, really easy. There's a plugin. You can also build your own API integration or RSS feed. And then we've partnered with a bunch of different third parties to bring you analytics, whether it's on Google Analytics or Omniture, Chartbeat, all of that. But none of this gets us anywhere unless it's good for your business. So we wanted to make sure that we could make this a really valuable product for publishers. So we've got a number of different monetization options that I wanted to talk through kind of quickly. The first one is direct sold ads. So here, if you're a publisher and you have your own sales team and you have your own clients, then you can serve ads directly into Instant Articles. You keep 100% of the revenue. Everything is between you and your clients. We also have a programmatic option called Audience Network. And with this, you don't really have to do anything. We fill the ads. We give you a revenue share. And it's pretty straightforward and simple, especially for publishers. Maybe if you have a smaller sales team, this one can be very turnkey and very easy. You can also do a combination of the two. So if you wanted to do part direct sold and then do all of the remnant space with Instant Articles, that's an option too. We also offer branded content, which I'm not going to go into too much because I'll talk about it more in a little bit. But this is an option if you're doing sponsored content where you can leverage different style options to show that something is branded. So you can include the sponsor logo, it can have a different look and feel, and that way you can signal to your readers that something has been paid for or sponsored. And lastly, we have what we call a CTA, which stands for Call to Action. And I'll talk about a bit more about this in a second, but CTAs are a way to develop a more direct relationship with your readers. So in this example, the Washington Post was testing out our CTA to get newsletter subscribers. So we've actually made some recent updates that I wanted to let everybody know about. In terms of the monetization and with the ads, we announced, I think a week ago now, that you can now feature ads every 250 words, 350 words, or 500 words. And so this gives you more options to decide how many ads you want to have. It also gives you more options to make money off of your content. We're also doing a test in the bottom of an article where there's an option for related articles, and we're testing placing ads there since we've gotten feedback from publishers that that's something that they would like to see. And this is brand new with these call to action units. We actually announced last night that we're opening it up to everybody on Instant Articles. So now you have the option to include one of these in your articles where you can either prompt people to like your page, or you can prompt them to enter their email and sign up for a newsletter. So again, we wanted to give people more options to engage directly with their readers and develop that relationship. And so far, the data we've seen has been super positive. Some of our partners have said that between 30 and 40% of their newsletter signups have come from this unit in Instant Articles, and that those readers are just as loyal as the readers coming from their own sites. So that's it for Instant Articles, but as I said, if you've got questions, feel free to come and talk to me afterwards. Now I'm going to go into some best practices. Whether you're posting directly to your page or via Instant Articles, these kind of apply across the board. So backing up a second, we've talked quite a bit about Newsfeed during the course of the festival. Hopefully many of you went to go see Adam Mosseri speak. And I just want to kind of reiterate how some of that works and how your content finds the right audience. And so there are a couple of different signals that we look at. The first is who's posting the content. What's your connection to that page or that profile? Is it your mother? Is it your best friend? Or is it somebody you met at a journalism conference 2 years ago and you've never spoken to since? All of that is going to be a signal for how likely you are to engage with that content. The second is what kind of content is it? Is it a video? Do you watch videos all the time? Or maybe you're like me and you click a lot of links. So if you go to my newsfeed, I see a lot of links because that's a type of content that I really like. And the third is how is that post performing? What kind of engagement is it getting? Is it getting a ton of likes and shares and comments? Are people interacting with it? That's another really powerful signal that tells us that you might want to see that piece of content. And this example over here is actually quite old, but it's a pretty good example of all of this at play. So this was a post from my personal newsfeed where a friend of mine posted a New York Times article. And I follow the New York Times. I'm from New York. And so I saw this when the New York Times posted it, but I think I was busy and I didn't click on it. And then my friend shared it. And so I saw it again, and I saw that he had written a comment on it and he had said something about it. And I think I was also busy or maybe going into a meeting or something, and I didn't read it then. And then he commented on his share, and I saw it a third time. And so that time I went and I read the article because that was one more very powerful signal saying, hey, you should read this article. So when you can think about when you're posting to try to make that type of thing happen, to get people to connect with something or share it with their audience, that's going to be a very powerful thing. Which takes us to a couple of best practices. So these are things that in working with many different partners, many different publishers, things that I've noticed and my general advice. The first is there is no magic number. So usually I talk to people and they ask me, how often should I post? And then I ask them a bunch of questions. Well, how much content do you have? What kind of page do you have? And what's always really funny is for some reason, people have decided that there's a number that they're going to post every single day. Maybe it's 2 posts a day, maybe it's 15, but they decided on this number. They don't know why, they're not going to change it. And the truth is, there's no magic number. It's not a formula. It depends on your content. It depends on what you have to say. And it's really personalized. So the best thing to do is, instead of deciding on a number out of nowhere, think about what makes sense for you and experiment. Try posting a little bit more, try posting a little bit less, see what happens. And usually, when people post more, they see reach and engagement also go up. The second one I sort of touched on before, but post a mix of content types. If you're only posting links all day, every day, and I happen to really love video, then I might not see your links very much, even if I like your page, or the other way around. So you want to make sure you're posting enough different types of content that you're going to be able to reach as wide an audience as possible. And there are a lot of different ways to tell stories. And so you want to think about what way is going to make the most sense for that story. Think about how shareable the content is. And when you're posting or writing your headline, think about how can you phrase this that's going to make somebody want to share it. Because we think a lot about engagement on Facebook, and all of those signals are really important: likes, shares, comments. But if you think about it, a like is pretty easy, right? It's a little bit lightweight, doesn't take very much effort on your side. A comment, a little bit more effort. I have to decide I have something to say about this. But if you're going to share something, that's a very, very powerful signal, because that's saying, I feel so strongly about this, or so connected to this piece of content, or I have an opinion about it, that I need my whole network to also see this. And if you can pin down something in your article that's going to make somebody connect to it and want to share it, that's a really powerful thing and a very powerful signal. And then just in thinking about how to increase your distribution, it's always good to tag people, places, and things. So when you tag other pages or the people that might be involved in a story, it makes that piece of content eligible to be seen by everybody that's connected to that page. And think about it like, it kind of works, if you see a photo posted by somebody you don't know, but it's a photo of your friend, and you see it in your newsfeed. It's a similar type of thing. And if you happen to be connected to both that page and the page that's tagged, then that's two signals that's going to say that you should see that content. So it's another really good organic way to grow your audience. And then think about hashtags and keywords. These are important tools that people use to find content and to tap into the conversation. So I wouldn't recommend just making up hashtags or throwing in 50 hashtags per post. But I would think about, if there's something trending, if there is a conversation happening around a hashtag, think about how you can tap into that. So now I'm going to talk a little bit about video, although this isn't exclusive to video. So here we talk a lot about something called the 3-second audition. And the idea here is that as you're scrolling through your newsfeed and moving very quickly, you have 3 seconds to get somebody's attention. And I actually think it's probably closer to 1 second, but you have to make the most of the first few images, the first few frames, so that they know what they're looking at and why they should stop and watch the rest of the video. And so we talk a lot about this with videos, but it's also true for headlines, right? If I have a link and a headline that is super long and I don't know what it's saying and I can't understand what this story is about, then I'm probably not going to stop and pause on that story or click on that link. And so it's about, and there's an art to this, and I think most of you as journalists know about the art of trying to write the perfect headline. But you want to think about what can you do in those first few seconds that's going to grab somebody's attention. So pay a lot of attention to the images and the headlines. Again, with an image that you choose, you want it to be something that's going to get somebody's attention. And you also want to think about mobile, right? Somebody is going to look at this on a small screen. So if it's very, very zoomed out and they can't tell what they're looking at, it's going to be hard for them to get to pay attention and be interested in the story. And then lastly, with Facebook, most people are viewing videos with sound off, although this is starting to change. So you do want to think about that sound off experience, and you want to think about autoplay. So again, those first few frames, if you're putting a logo or a title card at the beginning, you're missing an opportunity with that first frame. And more than anything, the thing that I emphasize the most is to really be authentic. Bring your personality to Facebook. Connect with your audience. And I think there's an opportunity with Facebook in particular for it to be more of a dialogue. It's not one way. So you want to engage with your audience and you want to show your expertise and your personality and your viewpoint. Okay, so now I'm going to go into some of the different tools that you can use every day as you're posting to Facebook. The first one is targeting, and we have two kinds of targeting. So the first one here is audience restrictions. And what this one will do is it will make your audience smaller. So you can choose to restrict your audience by age, by location, by language. And even though it will make your audience smaller, in some cases you can use this to increase your engagement. It's also very helpful if you have rights, for instance, in just a certain location, then you would want to geo-target so that you're only showing a piece of content in that location. But you could also, for instance, customize headlines. So you might have one version of a headline about millennials. You might have one version for teens and one for older people. Or you might have one version of a headline for men and one for women. And it's a way to play around with customizing things and segmenting them to more targeted audiences. The other type of targeting that we have is called preferred audience. And with this one, we built this realizing that Facebook does a pretty good job of guessing what your content is about. We can look at keywords, we can look at a bunch of different signals, but we wanted to give journalists, publishers, the opportunity to tell us what your content is about, because you know better than anybody. So here, you can basically pick a bunch of tags and tell us who would be most interested in your content. You can choose very broad topics, for instance, entertainment, or you could choose narrower topics, film, or a specific film, or a specific set of actors, for instance. And this will, again, help your content find the most relevant audience. So now I'm going to move on to cross-posting. And this one is very useful if you're doing a lot with video and you have multiple pages. So cross-posting is something that we've rolled out for videos that allows you to post the same video across multiple pages. And this is different than sharing a video. What this does is allow you to post across multiple pages, but it looks like a native video post. It doesn't appear as a share. So it's a way to share assets across your pages or partner pages without having to download the video and re-upload it. So you could do this if you have many different pages. This can be a really helpful tool. It can also be a helpful tool if you've worked with partners on something. It's an easy way to share those assets. And then each page can customize the headline. They can target however they want, and it looks like a native video post directly to their page. The other really helpful thing is that you can see shared insights on cross-posted videos. So the original person who uploaded the video will see aggregated insights for all of the videos and all of the cross-posted videos, while each individual page will just see their own insights. So again, it's a really good tool if you're working with other pages on partnerships or if you manage a bunch of different pages. We also have rolled out a tool extremely helpful for video called Rights Manager. So with this, I'm going to back up for a second and just talk about intellectual property and copyright in general. So with intellectual property, with copyright, we take this very seriously at Facebook. And if something gets reported, what happens is that the report comes through and we look at it, and then if it's found to be violating, then we will notify all of the admins of that page. And we will also notify the person that posted the video, and we'll tell them who reported it, and we'll give you their contact email. And this is important because if that happens to you and it's a mistake, then you want to reach out to the person that reported it and have them take back the report. Another really helpful way to manage your own copyright is with this tool called Rights Manager. And Rights Manager basically allows you to upload a reference library. So when you upload a video, you can put it in your reference library, and what will happen is it will scan videos across Facebook and detect if there's a match. And then it will surface the matches for you. And once you have all of the matches, you can decide if you want to leave them up or if you want to take them down. So for those who are producing a lot of videos, this can be a very helpful tool to manage your own copyright. You can also whitelist specific pages if you want, or in that case, if you have many different pages, or if you've worked with a partner, or if you've licensed a video out. So there are various tools for managing your assets using Rights Manager. And again, if you want to know more, come find us afterwards. Okay, working through like a lot of information, but now we're on branded content. So with branded content, this is called different things depending on the company that you work in, but it's branded content or sponsored content. Sometimes people call it native advertising. Essentially, this is when you're posting some kind of general editorial content that has been paid for by an advertiser. And we developed a tool on Facebook that allows you to tag the advertiser. And so the idea here, and you can see in this example, this is the Sun football page with Gillette. The idea here is that the deals are completely between you and your advertisers. We don't want any part of that, but we do want to create a transparent experience for readers so that they know when something has been sponsored. So what happens is there's this little with tag that tags the sponsor. It's pretty subtle. It's not like neon flashing lights that something has been paid for, but it does give that signal. And you can find this when you go to post. So when you go to create a post on your Facebook page, there is a little icon that looks like a handshake. And when you click on that, then you'll have the option to search for your advertiser and tag them in your post. And this works for all kinds of content. So whether it's live or 360 or instant articles, it doesn't matter. This option is available no matter what. But we've made some updates recently, so I wanted to let you guys know about them. Originally, branded content was only available for verified pages, and we announced recently that it's now open to all pages. You can apply, and we have an announcement in our media blog, which is this media.fb.com. So you can apply there, and then you'll have access to that tool. And then we've also made a couple of updates to how it looks. So now you still have that width, but we also have in the metadata this little paid signal there. Again, because we just want to be very transparent that there's an exchange of value happening between an advertiser and a publisher. We have also made a couple of changes to our different guidelines. So with branded content, there's a lot that you can do. You can tag your sponsor, you can do product placement, you can include end cards if it's a video. And now you can also include a watermark or logo, and you can have graphical overlays. You can't do everything. So you still can't run pre-roll post-roll or mid-roll, or banner ads. But we are trying to make it more flexible and open so that you can find solutions that will work with your clients. And the idea here is mostly that we want to preserve a good user experience. So we don't want it to be really spammy with tons of ads flying at you, while still giving you the flexibility to showcase your sponsor's logo or the brand that you're working with. Okay, so lastly, I'm going to talk a little bit just for those who are managing pages kind of day to day, and just some general tips for how you can manage the page, how you can look at comments on the page, and make sure that you're building the right community on your page. So, first of all, if you have a page, it's good to take a look at the page roles. So sometimes, especially when pages have been around for a while, you'll go and take a look and there are like 35 admins on a page. That's generally not a great idea. You want people to have the lowest permissions necessary to do their job. Although I would recommend having more than one admin, because if somebody leaves your company or something happens, you don't want all of the keys to the castle with just one person. You can also, in your settings, there's a number of different options to limit what other people can do on your page. So these are some that I wanted to point out. The first is you can limit tagging. So this is helpful whether you're a person or a publication. You can limit what other people can tag you in and what will show up on your page. You can turn it off completely. You can also make it so that you review that before it goes up. And then the other thing to be aware of is comment ranking. So with comment ranking, rather than showing comments in chronological order, just all of the comments, it will take into account signals that pull in high quality comments and surface those to the top. So the comments that are getting the most engagement will surface to the top. Comment ranking will also filter out spam. And so that also helps make the level of conversation happening on your page higher and more engaging. There's also a couple of different filters you can do when it comes to profanity. So we have a general profanity filter that you can turn on and off on your page. And this takes into account all of the worst words and the ones that you would think of. And you can set that to 3 levels. So it's basically low, medium, high, or maybe strong, medium, weak. You can also create custom filters. So this is really helpful, especially if there is a specific, maybe not a bad word, but there's a specific trend or topic or hashtag or something that's surfacing and causing problematic comments on your page. Then you can use the custom filter to weed those out. And what happens is when somebody posts with a word that is in your filter, they will still see their comment, but nobody else will. So it's a very easy experience where somebody isn't showing up as automatically blocked. To them, it looks fine and normal, but it prevents everybody else from being able to see it. And then lastly, you can always report and delete comments on your page. So as the admin of the page, you have the power to delete any comments that appear there, and you can manage your community however you want. You can also report them, which is a good practice because it notifies our team that maybe somebody is violating our community standards, and that's something that we need to look at. You can also ban repeat offenders. So if people are doing this consistently all the time, then you also have controls to manage those. And in that case, you could ban somebody from commenting on your page. And once again, the banned users don't know that they've been banned. So it's not a very, there's not a lot of friction. It's not a very harsh thing that happens. They just no longer, their posts aren't seen by anybody else. Okay, so lastly, I'm going to leave you with a few resources. So a couple of ways to stay in touch with us, because obviously it's been great being here all week and speaking with you, and we'll be around afterwards. But so that you can stay in touch even beyond this week, we have a couple of ways to do that. So the first is a newsletter that my team puts out every week. And you can find it and sign up at facebook.com/newsletter. Unfortunately, it's just in English at the moment. But here we basically pull all of the latest product updates, all of the announcements that might be interesting to any of our partners. And we also compile good examples of content from our partners. So when we see one of our partners doing something cool, we'll include that in there as well, so to try to give you ideas or some interesting things to look at. And we also have a media blog. And here, again, there's a lot of announcements. There's updates on new products, but we also include case studies that can be really helpful. So we have case studies on Live, on instant articles. We publish best practices and how-to guides here as well. And it's also a good place to get general support. So a few takeaways, just to sum up, because I know I covered a lot of different things. But the first, with instant articles, if it's not something that you're using, consider it. It's an incredibly engaging format for content, and we've seen really strong data to support that. We've also had some great announcements recently, especially those call to actions, which enable you to create more direct relationships with your readers. Think about your headlines and your post frequency, and don't forget about the 3-second audition. Don't be afraid to experiment more than anything. Explore different ways to monetize with branded content, and we have some new tools there. And now that's going to be available to everybody. So if you're interested, I encourage you to check out that media blog, and you'll be able to sign up and request access there. And lastly, stay in touch, sign up for our newsletter, check out that blog that I just mentioned. And if there's anything else, because I know there's a ton of information, you can find us where we have a room at the Bar Bella Vista, and a bunch of people from my team are here to talk more one-on-one about any of these things. So that was a lot of information. With that, I'm going to open it to questions if anybody has any. Yeah? Sure.
My question, I'm from Turkey, Hürriyet newspaper, one of the largest newspapers in Europe actually. We have problems with instant articles. In the West, in the United States, by the way, we are from the first day we've been in the United States and some American newspapers, as you showed, a lot of good engagement, better metrics in almost every count they had. When we applied it, we didn't see a rise that much, so we decided not to continue. But actually, we want. If you can help us with it, we are, by the way, always talking with Guido from Germany, so he's also helping us with it. But at some point, we stopped doing it, and I would like to reintroduce it, if possible.
So the question was about instant articles, in that we've seen great numbers on engagement, but in this case, you didn't see those right away. So a couple of things. In general, we've seen the best metrics when people really fully commit to instant articles. So I don't know about your specific case, but in some case, we see partners kind of dipping a toe or trying out a couple here and there. And with that, it's very hard to get a good sense of how they're actually doing. On top of that, we've made a lot of updates, especially to the monetization. but we're continuing to improve the product. So especially if you tried maybe a year ago, I would encourage maybe trying another test and seeing if there's increased engagement from that. But it is going to vary from publisher to publisher. So those are kind of the average numbers that we've seen. In some markets, it's actually been way higher, and in some a little bit lower. So we can talk more specifically maybe after this, but I would definitely recommend maybe trying another test, especially if it was a while ago. Yeah. Anybody else? Yeah. Sorry.
Hi. No, just one quick question, because I didn't use instant articles anymore, but in the past I used a lot the Canvas model. But, you know, since you didn't spoke about the Canvas model, I don't know if you can answer about this, but there are many differences between Canvas model for brand, or you suggest to use instant articles?
So Canvas is one of our paid marketing products. So we're seeing it used more with advertisers, whereas Instant Articles is built more specifically for publishers. And it's not a paid product. It's open to anybody. So in that sense, you know, for a specific campaign where you're looking to get a conversion or get some, you know, maybe somebody to buy something, anything like that, then Canvas might be the best option. But for just a general reading experience, I would probably recommend Instant Articles because it's made more specifically for publishers. And it has things like that call to action button that Canvas doesn't have. So it has certain features that are specific to trying to engage with your readers, trying to help you establish that connection to your audience, that Canvas has a little bit of a different use case. Yeah. You had a question?
Hi. We are using Instant Articles. When I learned about your new call to action, functionality yesterday, I wanted to try it. So I wanted to try it today in the morning, and it wasn't there still. So is it US only, or it's rolling out in next weeks, or what?
Sorry, and thank you. That's a good reminder. I should have mentioned that. It's rolling out globally, but starting next week. So we announced it last night, and you're very quick to action. But it's going to be rolling out starting next week. So I would check back then, and it will be global, but it will take time to roll out to 100%. Yeah. Yep.
Thanks. I would like to know if you still recommend the use of subtitles in video, if we should expect that Facebook don't promote our videos if we don't do it, and if we should forget about the idea of square videos.
Okay, so a couple of different questions in there. So the first is with the subtitles in videos. I think that from my perspective, those can still be a really powerful way to engage your audience, and it's because of that autoplay experience and that 3-second audition that we were talking about. Because what the subtitles do very well is they tell you immediately what something is about, and you don't need to work to try to figure it out. That being said, that's not the only way to do it, right? If you have enough going on in the action and the video itself where you can understand what's happening and get pulled in, then the subtitles aren't necessary. We have also been testing with the sound on. So if you have the sound turned on your phone, then as you're scrolling through newsfeed, you'll see videos play with sound on. And I think that that's still early enough that we don't have great best practices or data around that yet, but I would encourage people to experiment with videos that might work more for that environment. Because I think you'll probably we'll probably see more and more people experiencing videos with sound on as they become used to that experience. And then the other thing with square videos is when it comes to the format and how you're recording videos, it's kind of up to you and both how you're recording it, so what equipment that you're using, and then also how your audience is going to experience it. So on Facebook, most videos are being consumed on mobile. So because of that, the vertical video is very immersive because it takes up the whole screen. And so we've seen that doing quite well. But that doesn't mean that horizontal or square videos are not working well anymore. So I think it's something that it depends on what the video is, because if something is so immersive and so interesting, people will flip their phone. They'll get involved in it no matter what. But I would say, you want to optimize for mobile. And so because of that, a lot of times that vertical video can be a better format. Yeah. Yeah. Okay. We have a couple more minutes, but are there any other questions? We got one more? Okay.
This is about midroll. We also wanted to try the live video midroll. It was for a limited number of partners, publisher partners. When will it be available? Because it's been a very long time, actually. It's been on trial.
So the question is about mid-roll ads. And we are currently testing this out with a small number of partners in the US, but starting to roll out more broadly. I think so far the data that we've seen is very promising. We're trying to come up with a monetization plan that's going to work well for our partners and enable you to make money off of video. But that being said, this is new. So we're being careful about how quickly we roll it out, and making sure that we can optimize both for the advertisers, but also for the publishers who are posting the videos, and then also for the people watching the videos. And we're still learning things about how that works. So I think you will see it rolling out more internationally in the coming months, and it's definitely something that we're working on. But it's not, because it's quite a new thing and quite a big change, it's not going to be the type of thing where it flips 100% one day. I think we want to be very conscious about how we're rolling this out and making sure that we're doing it right. That makes sense. Okay, I think that's it. Thank you all very, very much. And
You got a good crowd. Like people are like piling in. Yeah.
Sorry, I can't remember if I told you already, but at 10 to 6 I will come telling you that you have 10 minutes left, then 5, and then you have to close, please.
Okay.
All right?
We'll be okay. I'm gonna keep an eye on the time too.
Yeah, and I'm sitting right next to Lenny, so I can fly. It'll be great.
A lot to cover today. I'm going to go through a lot of different things, and these are the tools and in the weeds things you need to know if you're managing a page on Facebook. So this is our agenda, and I'll do my best to get through everything and leave plenty of time for questions. So, starting off with instant articles. And I'm going to start off with this because it's a really exciting product, and we have some cool announcements around instant articles, but also because it ties into the general theme of engagement, because we found that instant articles are a really engaging type of content. So why did we build instant articles to begin with? We were seeing that on average, web articles were taking 8 seconds to load. And that might not sound like a very long time, but it can be a forever, eternity, when you're waiting for an article to load and nothing is happening. And this was not a great user experience. People were getting frustrated and they were bouncing back. They didn't want to wait. It wasn't a great experience. And we thought that we could figure out a solution to fix it. So we came up with instant articles. The first reason is to tackle that problem of things taking so long to load. But the second reason was because we wanted to offer a more immersive and native experience. So we launched instant articles almost 2 years ago. And in that time, we've seen pretty compelling data that shows it really is a more immersive experience and that the engagement is higher. So here are some of the numbers that we've seen. On average, instant articles are getting 30% more clicks. People are 70% less likely to abandon the article. And they're getting 30% more shares compared to link shares. We've also seen that they load a lot faster. So this is my favorite slide. But we did a speed test where we tested instant articles on a 2G network on a 6-year-old Android phone in India compared to the mobile web on a brand new, at the time, 6S iPhone on a 3G network in the USA. And so with the instant articles, we see takes a little over half a second to load, which is pretty cool. And then you can scroll, it's very immersive, you can look around in the photos, it's a really nice experience. So now we go to the mobile web, brand new phone, best network. And that's not even 8 seconds. That was barely 5, but it felt like a really long time, no? So in general, you see that this is not quite, it doesn't load as fast, but it's also not as native an experience, right? The links don't look as good, the images aren't full bleed. You can't lose yourself in an article in the same way that you can with an instant article. So if those of you who are not yet on Instant Articles want to learn more, I encourage you to come and visit our help desks. We have a lot of different options on how to integrate them. If you use WordPress or Drupal, it's really, really easy. There's a plugin. You can also build your own API integration or RSS feed. And then we've partnered with a bunch of different third parties to bring you analytics, whether it's on Google Analytics or Omniture, Chartbeat, all of that. But none of this gets us anywhere unless it's good for your business. So we wanted to Okay, I think most people have seats, so we're going to get started. Okay, so welcome. Today we're going to be talking about engagement strategies on Facebook. So how to grow your audience, how to look at new formats that might be better for engaging your audience, and then some tips and tricks. So to introduce myself, my name is Francesca Sacasa. I have an Italian name, but I'm not Italian. So English, please. But I'm really excited to be here. I'm on the media partnerships team based in London, and we work with journalists and news publishers to help them use Facebook better. And any questions you have, you can always come and ask me and my team, and we have help desks afterwards, so I'll tell you more about those as well. So we have to make sure that we could make this a really valuable product for publishers. So we've got a number of different monetization options that I wanted to talk through kind of quickly. The first one is direct sold ads. So here, if you're a publisher and you have your own sales team and you have your own clients, then you can serve ads directly into Instant Articles. You keep 100% of the revenue. Everything is between you and your clients. We also have a programmatic option called Audience Network. And with this, you don't really have to do anything. We fill the ads. We give you a revenue share. And it's pretty straightforward and simple. Especially for publishers, maybe if you have a smaller sales team, this one can be very turnkey and very easy. You can also do a combination of the two. So if you wanted to do part direct sold and then do all of the remnant space with Instant Articles, that's an option too. We also offer branded content, which I'm not going to go into too much because I'll talk about it more in a little bit. But this is an option if you're doing sponsored content where you can leverage different style options to show that something is branded. So you can include the sponsor logo, it can have a different look and feel, and that way you can signal to your readers that something has been paid for or sponsored. And lastly, we have what we call a CTA, which stands for Call to Action. And I'll talk about a bit more about this in a second, but CTAs are a way to develop a more direct relationship with your readers. So in this example, the Washington Post was testing out our CTA to get newsletter subscribers. So we've actually made some recent updates that I wanted to let everybody know about. In terms of the monetization and with the ad,